All right, thanks everybody for hopping in. My name's Fernando. I'll be the host for the webinar series, and I'm super excited to launch this because I've been a PadSplit investor for 5 years, since 2020, and we have data. Like, we have the numbers, we have data. There's been ways that PadSplit has grown over the course of the years. When I started, there was only like Atlanta and Tampa, and now you guys they're in like over 30 markets. And so with all of that happening, and because I finance so many of these loans, I want everybody to win. And so when I started this webinar series, because I was able to bring on Adam, the Chief Growth Officer, or just people on here that could share with us how do we win, so that you know the game, you know how to play the game, and you can win the game. And that's literally what this webinar series is for. So I'll give actually each of you guys, if you don't mind, I'll give you guys like a quick 30, 45 seconds to just introduce yourselves so that the audience knows why you're uniquely positioned to be on this webinar. I think if you could just do that in 30 to 45 seconds, I'm going to highlight you first. Adam, rock and roll.
Awesome. Well, thanks for everyone that joined this call today, both new perspective, existing host. Just appreciate everybody's feedback. So my name's Adam. I lead growth here at PadSplit. I have been here for 6 years, but I think more importantly, I've been a co-living operator for about 11 years. So I do have 33 of my own rooms. Some of those are on PadSplit, some of those are not. I can kind of go back and forth and talk about some of those, like, historical reasons as to why. But really just believe in this asset class, and I believe it's the future. And so really quickly, my aha moment 11 years ago was, I turned Quadplex into a co-living space. I received this check that seemed way outsized. And when I talked to the residents, I was a little embarrassed by it. And they asked me, why is this place so cheap? How can I live in the old Fourth Ward in Atlanta, all utilities included, and walk to all these places? Why is this so cheap? And I that aha moment for me led me to pitch Atticus over years to join the company. And so that's what I've been doing the last 6 years, and just really excited to see this asset class grow and learn from all of you all as hosts as well.
Sweet, Adam. Thank you, man. That was great. Let's hop over to Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather. I was actually the first PadSplit host back when PadSplit was Atticus and no website and nothing. And I would call him all the time with problems, and he would come down to my house and fix it. And PadSplit has seen incredible growth since then. And it's really, I feel really lucky to have gotten into it when I did. And about 2.5 years ago, we moved our family to Spain, and now I manage all of my PadSplits from Spain. So I'm really thankful and glad to have been a part of this.
Literally living the dream. They're like, sheesh, let me retire off PadSplit in Spain. Solid. All right, going over to Travis.
Hey, thanks everybody. Really excited for everybody to join. My co-living journey started about 2.5 years ago. I had my first year, I had 3 houses that I did off PadSplit. Was a little frustrated with how fast I was able to scale there. So actually switched on to PadSplit about a year ago, and I added 150 rooms in the last 12 months. Currently have 180 rooms with 80 of those under construction. I have 8 renovations at the moment and 100 live. So currently also building a software tool to help PadSplit hosts, which is PadPulse. And thanks for having me, Fernando.
Yeah, man. No, big time. That's I thought you're uniquely positioned because you have both sides. Adam too, right? Like a lot of you guys. Heather, I know you don't necessarily only do PadSplit, so I wanted to bring you guys in. Sweet. Let's go over to Harris.
Hey guys, and thanks for having me, Fernando. My partner, my other half, Paul, and I, we live in Charleston, South Carolina, and we actually started learning the co-living model through house hacking. And we're super passionate about it because the very first house hack we had, we met our best friend. He was only 20 years old, he was Muslim, and we just fell in love with him. So we're very passionate about learning co-living through the house hacking model, right? We currently have 3 houses, 18 rooms, and we self-manage all of those rooms ourselves. Paul does all of the marketing, and I do all of the management and maintenance type things. So super excited to be here and share some of my experience with you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Harris. And you bring, so Harris comes on bringing the unique perspective of, she is self-managing off PadSplit. And so I just wanted to make sure that when we're having this panel, I was trying to be unbiased and bringing people in. I've known Harris as well. And you actually are a coach with Sam Wiegert's co-living mastermind too. So thanks for being here.
Yep.
All right, sweet. Now we got Kairsten coming in hot.
Hey, I'm Kairsten. I've been with PadSplit about 5 years, and I work on the host success team. I manage some of the largest hosts on our platform, and collectively, that's about 5,000 units that I look after here at PadSplit. And just really excited to be part of solving the affordable housing crisis, super passionate about helping people, and excited to be here today.
Thanks, Kairsten. Sweet. Yeah. And I didn't realize it was 5,000 that you'd support. I knew it was a lot. I just didn't know it was 5,000. That is That is pretty solid. So as you guys can tell, everybody here is uniquely positioned to be a panelist. And the first question I kind of want to share, now I'm going to share my screen. If it's too blurry, then I might just share the entire link with you guys. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so we heard you. We had 300 registrants, and I think we had about 60. Well, we didn't update it, but literally from yesterday to today, we had like 60 responses. This number stayed fairly accurate at 50%. But you said 50% of you are not using PadSplit, 25% of you are using PadSplit, and then some of you are considering it. So actually there's a decent amount here that are considering PadSplit. So I hope throughout this whole journey, I think that's the point where you're trying to figure out what co-living strategy is right for you, that cost benefit analysis. We went ahead and pulled where you guys are all located, a bunch of different parts in Texas, Florida, Georgia, and then other Midwest regions, some in California, Oregon, San Diego County. But as you guys can tell, it's probably going to more of the states that are not California. I live in California, so here we are. Where are you in your PadSplit journey? So 27% of you said, I'm researching and haven't purchased yet, just starting. But actually a large majority is 1 to 2 properties that you guys already own. So that's pretty sweet. And then how familiar are you with the concept of co-living or PadSplit? Pretty much everybody here is now somewhat familiar. 50% says somewhat, and then very familiar. I think over the course of the webinar series, this number turns more into very familiar, that you guys are going to be understanding, zoning, legal, how to operate these successfully, how to deal with members, how to navigate PadSplit's platform, how to navigate off PadSplit's platform. So all that stuff we're going to be getting into, not today, but over the course of the series. Google form submissions. What do you think? This one was a surprise to me, but we kind of knew. Like, what do you think the true cost of PadSplit is with an average occupancy of 200 plus days, and the 8% fee, right? And the first 10 days booking. And a lot of people put like, don't know, no clue, no idea, 10-year around 17%, unsure, no sure, I guess. So there's just a lot of uncertainty here. And whenever there's uncertainty around any, business model, obviously that we refrain from making decisions. So we're going to get into that one today. That was a big part of today's topic. Best estimate for your average maintenance CapEx appliance costs annually. 3% was $8K. Another 3 was 6 to 9. Another 3 was 3 to 4. So a lot of you answered like not applicable. I do my own stunts. There we go. And what is one thing you hope to take away from this webinar? Financial feasibility and cost analysis. Significant number of responses focus on understanding the real, hidden, or net costs. So it's not just the 8%, but it's when you underwrite a deal, how do you make sure you get into a deal and you're not going to lose money? I think that's what I want to help, investors with. I always tell people my job's to get you money, your job's to make sure you make it. And so providing the education, providing the panelists here, the goal is to help you guys make educated decisions to make money and go to Spain and retire.
Hey, Fernando, they said they're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh no.
In the chat. Just want to make sure everyone can hear.
Did you hear me too? Can you hear me as well? Are you guys having trouble hearing me?
No.
I'm saying that it's quiet to get closer to your microphone.
Okay. All right. I'll be right here moving forward. Thank you.
That sounds better, I think.
Okay, we'll rock and roll with this right now. What's our big promise? Learn more about PadSplit. Obviously, talk about the cost time benefit analysis, self-managing on platform versus on platform. That's what we're going to get into. We talked about the panelists today. Let me pull up question number 1. First question is, people are thinking, going back to that true cost of PadSplit, people are thinking, hey, I'm underwriting this deal with 8%. And when I see them do this, especially if they don't have a PadSplit yet, Adam or everybody, I'm sure you guys agree, where it's like, no, don't underwrite your deal like that, because you're just not taking into account the reality of the other side of the other expenses that could come from it, right? So Adam, I want to pass this over to you first. You saw that people aren't really sure how to estimate what their true cost is, but if they did need to underwrite their deal, if they did need to underwrite, what is that true, what is a good estimate for how they should be projecting the PadSplit expense when you factor in the 8% plus the 10 days?
Okay, that sounds good. I think I do want to kick off first, though, of just for the folks that are not aware about PadSplit, what it is and how it came to be. And I think I'll be really quick around.
Yeah.
Co-living is really challenging. And there's 3 main tenets that we've identified within co-living that make that challenging. And I'll sum them up into marketing and screening is this big bucket. So how do I go accomplish that? Second one is collections. How do I go now collect from all these individuals? And the third bucket is member to member mitigation, member to member management. And so what I'll say is, I've spent 11 years doing this. Product has been building this for about 8 years within Atticus. And like we wake up every day trying to solve those three tenets and like provide value to you all as hosts. And so that's kind of how we've centered what we focused in on. And then like that is obviously related to then fees within the marketplace. So we're a two-sided marketplace similar to Airbnb that is really, really focused on those three tenets of co-living operations. And so do not underwrite a deal at 8%. If you're doing that, please work with your local account executive, myself, really any host on this call. We take a 10-day upfront booking fee. So the first 10 days of a member stay, and then 8% through that member's tenure. And so how that's, based off of how long people stay, people leave over a certain period of time, like those costs do add up. And it goes back to like how you set your property up, how you manage your property locally, and how you use the different PadSplit tools to really like get the most you can out. But for what we typically recommend is between, call it 13 to 15% is how I would underwrite the property within this first year. Now, as I looked at hosts that have been on this property for years and years, and I think Heather can kind of go through some of her data, there's anecdotes where, the fees do drop if I'm a really strong operator and if I have figured out why maybe this room has higher churn, and you slowly start to use that data to then improve or optimize your property. I have seen, fees in the 10% range or closer to this 8% that people might be able to underwrite at. But ultimately, like I would underwrite in this 13 to 15%, and then I really focus in on like how I can be the best operator I can to really drive outsized results within that optimal fee model.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, does any other panelists want to hop on and share? Any comments?
I would just quickly concur that, my data from doing this for 2 years, a little over 2 years, is I'm at 14%. So kind of right in the middle of what he said.
There you go. Heather?
I have some houses that are down near 8%, and I have some houses that are over 15%. And so that was a real surprise to me, and it really caused me to think about, why are these houses so much more? I have the same systems in all my houses. Why are some of them so much lower and some of them so much higher? And what can I do to bring the higher ones down and match my lower ones? And one thing Kairsten and I were talking about earlier today is, if you look at some of my overall tenure, some of my houses have very long tenure, but I have lots of turns within that house. And what I've realized is sometimes I have just like this dog of a room. It's 8 by 10. It's like a starter room. It's not luxurious. Nobody wants to live in it. And the downstairs, where the room is larger and it's more luxurious, everybody stays. And upstairs churns and churns and churns. And every time it churns, it's costing me $150, $200. And so, Fernando, can you display my slide with the numbers on there?
Yeah. Let's see. Now I got to share my screen again, guys. So bear with me as we roll through this. And that is...
Fernando, you're on mute, sir.
You're on mute, yeah.
Okay, sweet.
So I wanted...
Right here? This one?
Yeah. So what I wanted to be able to show everybody is PadSplit started, they changed their pricing model in April of 2024. And that first house on top, I was like, man, everybody there is going to stay forever. And I paid extra money to have them all move to the new model. And it was a good prediction. In 2025, I only had 3 move-ins out of 7 rooms, and I was paying effectively 8.94% to PadSplit. I did not guess so well on the rest of the houses. And so you can see some of my houses, like, for example, I had 3 move-ins, 8 move-ins, 5 move-ins, and I'm just like sucking fees over there at 14 to 15%. And so what I've done is the people that were left on the old model, I've purchased them down, I paid $500 last month to move them to the 8% model. For everybody that's got an existing PadSplit, if you still have people on the 12% model, I would encourage you to move that down to the 8%. Because they've already been there 2 years since they've changed. They're probably going to stay. For new hosts, I think it's really important that when you're doing your modeling, you need to expect to pay your own mortgage, no matter how many people are in your room, for the first month to 2 months. And if you don't have that money in your savings account ready to pay your mortgage, you are going to be panicking. How is my house full? How am I dealing with all these problems? And yet I have no money in my checking account.
Yeah, I know that
a lot of people are saying, sorry, that it's really blurry in the chat. I don't know if you could zoom in as much as possible.
There is sort of a disconnect because for PadSplit, the more somebody moves, the more money they make. as long as they stay on the platform. And so for PadSplit, if somebody moves 3 times in 1 year, they may warn that member that if they stay in the same house. For us as host, our incentives are kind of aligned, but we want somebody to stay within our property or within our portfolio. So a trick that I do is when I have a nice room that comes open, I message everybody in my portfolio, let them know, man, I have this great room. It's got a large closet. It's got a great bathroom. If you were thinking about moving, come over to my room. And then I get them to move with no transfer fee. I keep somebody maybe who they thought they were gonna leave. And then I'm increasing the retention within my own portfolio without having to pay PadSplit those fees again.
Yeah, and I think Adam or Kairsten, can you guys speak to that a little bit? So this is something that Heather made, which is like PadSplit revenue by member movement. This is specific to yours, Heather. So like, because these are percentages, right?
No, this assumes $150 room per week. How much is PadSplit making on the initial move-in, and depending on how many times they move within a year?
Gotcha.
Well, I think so, like I'll comment on like Heather's view and making sure that like you're transferring within your property, especially for members that you'd like to stay. I think that's something that like hosts should obviously do to maintain tenure. I do want to like level set here around only 19% of our user base has transferred once. And, as you go down this list, even up to 6 transfers, like 0.1% of our population has ever done that. It's really like low scale. And so like we're not incentivized by that. And so what I would say for all hosts is if you're seeing somebody do this on the platform, you're impacted by it. You're seeing additional booking fees from people that are doing this, 3, 4, 5 transfers. To us, it's in the single digits, if not lower percentage. And at 6, it's 0.1%. Like message us. It's not something that we're here to try to make money off of. Like ultimately we're not, it's just not something that we're trying to promote. We want to continue to drive more and more new business to the platform and to you all as hosts.
And Adam, just to be extremely clear, you're saying message you if, how would we know if this is like their 4th time or their 6th time? Oh, because it has previous stays on the dashboard.
Because it has previous stays. So you would see it. Again, like 19% of people do 1 transfer, less than 7% for 2+. So it is just a lower percentage.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're seeing that behavior, it's not something that we designed to benefit off of. Feel free to message support or myself, and we can work through that.
There you go. Nice. I appreciate it. This is the benefit of having somebody like Adam on, right? He just said, if you're on here, you see somebody is their 5th time booking, message support, send them this link and say, hey, Adam said reach out, and you guys are going to hook me up. Appreciate you, Adam. Thank you so much. Any other comments on that before we go to the next question? Any other comments on the 8%, the 10%, the total all in? I'm glad that 3 of you agree right now that it adds up to around that 13 to 15%, right? Heather, Travis, and Adam, you guys have, all your data aligns. So appreciate that. Anybody have anything else to say? Otherwise, I'll go to the second question.
I'm not sure if does the second one get into tenure in different pieces?
The second one,
Stay.
I kind of wanted to go aside from, so we're trying to help people.
Well, no, I'll just make one comment then, like going back to this, to the fee piece and like booking and 8%, like the one thing I do want to stress for existing and new hosts is like the move-in experience is like the most impactful moment in a member's tenure journey. I mean, we've looked at this. We've now had 73,000 people live at PadSplit, and we've been able to like collect a lot of this data and information. And so we look back to that first move-in experience, it correlates with longer term outcomes. And so when we think about things that we control as operators, like that move-in experience is something that I just want to stress when we think about optimizing for fees, optimizing for experience, optimizing for tenure. It's the one thing I would just want to make sure that we take away from this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Because the longer people are in your house, the more money you make as a host, and that's what Heather just showed us. That she's had people in her house for so long, she's literally at close to the 8% in that property. Okay, appreciate you guys. Thank you. So the next question, this one, the goal here is helping the team think about underwriting. And so we talked about the 8% plus the 10%, the 10 days. In the next level of thinking about underwriting are the additional costs, that like the cost of goods or things like that of just operating a co-living PadSplit property. So aside from PadSplit fees, running a co-living property, whether it's like on PadSplit or off PadSplit, people need to know actual costs that they need to be factoring into their underwriting. And so some people are like, reserves, I just do a flat 2.5% for reserves. And it's like, okay, where are people getting that from? And sometimes they bring a long-term rental mindset into a co-living or pad split approach. So Heather or Harris, can one of you two kick that off? Like, how do you guys underwrite for appliances, wear and tear, more people coming in, more people turning doorknobs, whatever it is? How do you underwrite for that?
Harris, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, we, in terms of wear and tear, what we do is we always get the warranties on all of our appliances. Point blank, we just always do it. We've been bitten so many times by appliances. It just gets used so frequently by people, and then you might have a brand new washing machine that goes out in 6 months, right? So we always just buy the warranties for everything. You can also do the home warranties as well, but we've just not done that. We just get the ones directly from Lowe's or Home Depot when we buy our appliances. And when it comes to utilities, I know you didn't necessarily ask about that, but typically we're looking at like $120 per person for our utilities, and our cleaning fees as well. So that's how we underwrite it. From a general perspective, we follow Sam rule, which is the $50,000 per unit per room for a property. So in terms of just underwriting in general, and then wear and tear and utilities, that's how we do our numbers. Yeah,
I like that. I think I had underestimated the utilities, especially the creep with having more people. It's like in the beginning, you're just getting started. You maybe got 5 or, 50% occupancy. Your utilities can be significantly different once you're at 80, 90, 100 occupancy, and factoring in that rise of utility cost.
And that might be different. Our houses are 5 bedrooms and 8 bedrooms, so it could vary depending on how big your houses are. But that's what we've seen in our.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Harris. Heather, I'm gonna tag you in on this too.
Me and another landlord put together all of our data, and we had a 2-hour meeting about this the other day where we went over all of our data for maintenance and repairs and utilities. Like Harris, I always get the warranty and I buy new appliances. For years, I tried to be cheap and buy something used and get it fixed all the time. And when you've got 8 people waiting to use a washing machine, it really just doesn't work. You need somebody out there quick, and you need it repaired quickly. One thing that we've discovered in our cost analysis is, as you're thinking about your house, think about your square footage that's not producing income, and think about if you've got a gigantic living room and you've got a gigantic basement with a game room in it. Is that producing enough income to justify the additional cost of the utilities in that area? And we found our houses with the largest common areas also had the largest utility costs, and it was the largest percentage of income, because all that free space is not generating income. And we kind of looked at it and said, man, is this really worthwhile? A small dining room, some small shared spaces, yes. But people that had huge common spaces had utility costs that were significantly higher. Fernando, do you want to share that slide with the numbers? Is it going to be too blurry?
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. But yeah, if sharing my screen is too blurry, then I'll probably refrain. So I'm looking at, which one did you want me to look at? Which one was it?
I think it says costs. I can't remember what I named it.
Was it this one, costs? Yeah, this is probably going to be too blurry. If you just want to more so just explain what we're looking at, what the sheet is, it's probably too small to try to dig into it. But
too nerdy, too much data. Womp, womp.
Yeah, let's just get the core of it. So what's the takeaway?
The core takeaways that we learned was to make sure everybody had enough space, but not too much space for your utility costs, to keep that down. Another thing that we realized is that we started putting more bathrooms in houses. We really worried, are they going to be like me and take a shower for like 45 minutes and just like each burn your utility costs up if everybody has their own bathroom? And to be honest, the more bathrooms we put in homes and the more people had private baths, we did not see a significant change in our utility costs. And so for us, that was a really surprising takeaway that made us more excited about putting more bathrooms in our homes. And then another thing that we looked at, when you're thinking about market selection, as your property value increases and your tax rate increases, sometimes you have to cull properties in great areas because the property tax increases to such a high amount. You've got to just sell it in 1031 into something else because it's not profitable anymore due to your equity that's sitting in the home that's not used. So I think those were kind of big takeaway lessons that we had there.
Yeah, that is really big. I would have thought that if you have like more, I'm doing a 10 bed, 10 bath refi. I'm doing a duplex purchase, 5 bed, 5 bath each side. So in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, the utilities are going to be higher, but that's a pretty interesting data. And then I know Travis has interesting properties you got a bunch of beds and baths in yours too. Have you noticed anything like that you can comment on?
I mean, so my typical is like 10 bedrooms is kind of my target. That's my smallest house. I have up to 14, and ultimately I underwrite about $50 per person for utilities, but that doesn't include cleaning. That's just like covering electricity, water. So biggest thing I think that we've learned around bathrooms is if you have bathtubs, take them out, because sometimes everybody's got that friend, and I call them bath people. They take like 7 baths a week and they always use up all the hot water. So I always think like showers, low flow heads are the way to go, just to, run things. But I did have a big common space in my first house, kind of going through that thought process of a hangout spot. We also had a camera on that space. We looked at it and said, how many times was it used in a month? It got used twice. I turned it in a room after the first year because it was just being heated, cooled, and not making money. So now it's this premium, basically garage suite that's been bringing in about $225 a week with a shared bathroom. So it was definitely the right move and a pretty inexpensive transfer at the time.
Sweet. Adam, before we go to the next question, Adam, did you want to comment on that? You said you've been doing this for 11 years. That was news to me, by the way. I didn't know that you're in your own.
I did the math as I was walking in here and realized, yeah, it's been that long. But anyway, any specific, I mean, the only comments I'd make on this piece, I saw some chatter in here around like utilities of central versus mini split. And I just actually, it was a larger Victorian reno that we just did for like a 15-room house in Atlanta. And we were debating between central and mini split. And I wish I had done mini split, because we have this massive house with central, and the bill is higher than I expected. And I do wonder if we had switched that where people were using it, per use with that many rooms, if it would be a lot better. So I'm still learning as I go through this.
No, that's solid.
I can jump in. I would say that would cost you more, in my opinion, to have it be on a mini split system. But in my experience, like I typically tell my investors to plan on spending like somewhere upwards of $2,500 a year in CapEx. A lot of the early pad splits I did with big investors were basic apartment level finishes, roll vinyl flooring, flat gray paint, and just how that ages with 8, 9, 10 people in a property is just wild. And I think a lot of times people are going and doing like touch-ups, and over time, like those just look terrible. And I think a lot of the front end decisions to make that property have durable finishes. And also like something I see is people trying to make the 30,000 a door work, 40,000 a door work. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that cast iron plumbing in the basement isn't such a major issue. And the amount of houses I've had to empty and do $10,000, $15,000 plumbing repairs in the basement. Like I've had houses that have just underperformed for the life of the portfolio because of something like that happening. So I think on the front end, to really address the major systems inside the house and make sure that those are functioning for the amount of people who are there. And also like having things that are durable, that last for how many people are in and out, is super important.
When you say durable, like just name off like 1, 2, or 3 things that maybe we wouldn't think. And I think of myself as when I was a first-time investor, it's like you don't know what you don't know, right? Like furnaces, like the heaters, right? Or just things like that where I'm like, what am I even supposed to check for durability? Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think flooring's the big one. I think like if you're choosing a vinyl, just to have like a little bit higher grade LVP flooring, I think like personally that flat white paint or gray paint, like every person that walks in the house is scuffing their arm against the wall to come in. And I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. Like how quickly and how many times can you clean and clean and clean? Like that flat paint just goes bad really fast. So I think just elevating little things like that is super useful. Obviously, like I walk in all the time and see electrical panels that haven't been upgraded to 200 amps. Like I think there are basic minimum things that should be done to make sure you're supporting the usage in that house.
Okay, sweet. And
I'll also add a little bit there to that. Going back to what you said about getting people out of the house in order to repair something that you didn't do when you first started and made that house go live. We had an instance where we completely did brand new HVAC system, but we did not do brand new ducts. And I had to rehome almost everybody in my house. And it was so expensive just to rehome everybody in a hotel or an Airbnb just to get them out to fix that. So 100% agree with that. Just make sure that all of your functional elements of the house are working before you make it live.
One thing that I would add to that is, as you're thinking about your CapEx, think about your furniture replacement, because after 3-4 years, even if you're buying durable items, you're going to have to replace that. And at this point in time, some of our properties have been on the marketplace so long that every room turn now is floor redo, ceiling paint, wall paint, and all new furniture. Because even when you're buying quality materials, that's a lot of use.
And so for a room, just curious, Heather, and I'd like to get everybody's answers here. How much are you expecting to furnish a room? What do you think that cost is?
Our standard room setup now to repaint the room is approximately $300. When I'm doing construction now, I'm always trying to do hardwoods if I can. And if I can't do hardwoods, if it's not in the budget, then I'm going to do a nice LVP. And then we're mostly doing hotel furniture at this point in time. So that might be $300 for the actual furniture for everything, and then $100 for setup. And then the opposite of Harris, we're doing a 50-inch television wall mounted. And
oh wow,
that's running me with the install $300.
Wait, you're putting TVs in all your rooms now when you go to flip them, or even right now?
And then if it's in a nice area, like it's a Beltline house, then I'm not going to do it. But in other areas, yeah, the competition is stiffening and I need something. And like the olden days, they used to say religion was the opiate of the masses. And now I honestly believe it's a TV in the room eliminates like 50% of the fights in a home.
Wow, that's pretty huge. You'll hear, and this is where, just so everybody's here, we got, a good amount of people on. There's so much debate around how to operate a PadSplit for tenure. And that actually takes us into our third question, and it's around tenure. So let me get that question up really quick. So we talk about tenure, what gets people in. Is it community? Is it a living room? Is it pizza Fridays? Is it going in? Is it the onboarding process like Adam's talking about? Is it a TV in the room? So I'd like for each of you guys to comment your either experience or from data, your opinion, what you're seeing as to what is good tenure, first off. And we can start off there. Like, what is good tenure? That just to state PadSplit's average 200 days. Is that right, Adam? Am I speaking correctly when I say that? The average tenure across PadSplit portfolios is about 200 days, which is...
it's still in this 8 to 9 month range. I'm trying to think about math and days. That's like 240-ish, 250, so higher. But
Adam, is that total in a single house average or on PadSplit?
Oh, I don't know. I will.
I guess the data I'm looking at is on PadSplit. I would need to look at the difference, maybe at a property level.
At a property or portfolio level, like owner portfolio.
And maybe even varies by market. Some markets we have super high tenure of 13, 14 months, and then other ones, shake out around 9.
Okay, let's get into it then. So who wants to kick us off first? Kairsten, actually, if you can keep going. Oh, Travis raised his hand. All right, sorry, Kairsten, we'll pass it to you. You'll go second.
Go for it.
Go, Travis.
Yeah, so my average tenure is about 270 days. And that's, you got to take out kind of the fresh houses, because when a house first comes on, there's kind of like a seasoning period where people come in, they churn out real quickly. And so it feels like your first few months that you just have a lot of people in and out, but you start collecting your long-term members. So, I still have people who moved in 2.5 years ago that are still there, right? Then now there's like 11 of them that are kind of like that. And, I had a house that just went live a week ago, and I've already had 2 people move in and move out. Now, one of the key takeaways I've learned from there is, even though PadSplit has a function to tell somebody like how far they are from their work, either they aren't aware of it, they don't use it, something like that. So when we first get a booking request, now just in the last week, we started saying, hey, here's the address. Please check and see how far it is from anything important to you before you move in. Because of the 2 people who moved in in a week, they're just like, oh, it's farther than I thought. From their job or whatever it was. So that's kind of a big thing that really makes it feel. And I agree, like the move-in experience needs to be good, right? There's a certain level it has to be. But the bigger things of why I see high turnover is either somebody's moving in and it's that issue about location, they don't like, they feel like they're paying too much from what it is. So my other big learning thing that we've implemented is when somebody puts a move out request, I go in and I'll offer them a 5 or 10% discount to stay. Doesn't matter what they said the reason was. Hey, would you stay for a 10% discount? We probably win 50% of the people back with that strategy.
Wow, that's
and we don't offer
right
it to
there,
everybody.
Man. That's great. You're gonna clap it up for Trav. That's solid.
If we want to let them go for whatever reason, then we don't obviously offer that. But a lot of times people will say I want to move closer to my mom or XYZ, and the reality is they just don't want to admit that, hey, I wish I could save more money. And so if you look at the math of a flip, they're going to take about $275 to $300 on for 10 days, plus the cost of cleaning the room and turning it, whatever. Let's just roughly say it's $500. We could give somebody a 10% discount, and we're ahead if they for like the next 20 something weeks, right? And so that's a big strategy that we utilize.
Can I quick put a plug for Travis there? I mean, I think Travis, like one of the things that I'm really focused in on too here is just like feedback and the right data to host. So I think your example, or like when I say move in, what I really mean is like that feedback to you so that you can like tweak these different things and we can all like learn together to get better, to make sure that, hey, when that person comes, they know how close it is to their property. But like but really it's like the feedback to host, so you can change it, or you can like amend like your kind of move in or booking process. For I'll just speak really quickly for myself is, I have this old Victorian that we just listed, and the first person came in and then they left immediately. And, the feedback I got from the individual was, oh, the floors were creaky. And I was like, man, this house is from the early 1900s. It's like beautiful. It's got all this charm, but like I should put that in the listing. So I immediately put that in the listing. I reference those things as people move in, and I've yet to have an issue or a similar issue in that way. But ultimately, just big plug for Travis, and like that feedback loop from members and adjusting is how you win long term. And so props to you.
Yeah, big time. Who else? Oh, Kairsten, I'd like for you to hop in.
I can do.
So go for it.
Sure. So yeah, I guess when I first started at PadSplit, I started in property management and thought that was terrible. Didn't last too long, and was lucky to go work on a host account who was scaling really fast. And they're like, cool, great. Make this portfolio optimized, like go make it good. And I quickly noticed that the things that needed to be done on the front end. So I really jumped into acquisition and construction with them. And I truly believe it matters what house you're buying, how it's set up, the contractor you're working with, all those things with the member in mind is super, super important. And those things can't necessarily be changed like once the house is live. So like I think early idea was, okay, well, we'll have one tiny room, because if this is a 8x10 room, at least it'll be a loss leader in our house, and someone will book it for 130, it'll be great. Then they'll go to a bigger room. But in reality, like Heather said, some of those rooms, like I pulled one a few weeks ago that turned over 13 times in 1 year. And obviously, like that's not good for anybody. So I think the front end's really important. I also like that host came from the hotel industry, and he just always told me like a $2 soda pop fixes like any issue. Like humanize the people that are in the house, have conversations with them. Similar to Travis, like I've done, if somebody wants to move out, I've called them to find out why. If someone moves in with an issue, I know I've called a girl who was like, this is terrible, this is horrible move-in. I called her, I said, hey, what's going on? She's like, it needs to be cleaned. I said, let me Amazon you, $25 of cleaning supplies. And I saw maybe about 6 months ago that she finally moved out of that room 3 years later. So I think that there are little things you can do to make a human connection with these people in the house that goes a long way. I tell all of my hosts, it's a lot like I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Like the people are not going to stay forever. And if you can have them move out peacefully, improve their life during the process, have relationships with people that, a lot of times like have come from a hard background and are looking to improve their life. I think that it's just a really valuable relationship and really helps your portfolio succeed.
Sweet.
And I'm going to do the opposite take and be the cold-hearted person, because I feel like my job and my service to the members is to provide them a clean, safe home where they know their tickets will be responded to in a fast manner. And that is my number one act of service. I see some people on Facebook and people talking, and they're like, how do you stop them from texting you all the time? And they're calling me about the craziest stuff. And to be honest, nobody has my number until it's been like a freak accident and they've been in my house for 6 years. Everything is by messenger. I'm not looking to make friends with anybody, but I'm not having pizza parties. I'm not bringing you donuts, and we're not having a meeting on Sunday where we talk about our feelings. Like, it's just not scalable for me. But my tenure is above average, and I have people that have been in my home for 7 years, 6 years. And I think that providing them a safe place to live that's affordable, I show I care by taking care of the home and responding quickly. And for me, I think that's a great way to get tenure. You don't have to be lovey, touchy, feely, but by providing good service, people are looking for a great house and they want to feel safe and comfortable. And like, if an issue comes up, it's going to be handled. So
yeah, I think we were talking about this before, and ultimately, it is just the answer is service. If I could say that, like, how do you maintain tenure? It's just, you provide a great level of service. And for some people, that is Pizza Fridays. And maybe you as a host enjoy that. Like, that's the culture you want to create, because it's your house. Do what you want. And so for others, as Kairsten pointed out, it's different than how Heather's pointing it out. So, but with the core of it, what I'm kind of extrapolating from what everybody's saying, it's just like you're increasing the level of service to a member, to a tenant. Is that right? Anybody else want to jump on that?
Yeah, I can add to that a little bit. I would 100% agree with what everybody just said. One of the comments we've gotten frequently from our tenants is, you guys respond so quickly to all of our needs. If we ever have an issue in the house, you guys are very fast to respond. And I'll give all the props to my other half, Paul, for that. He handles all of the tenants. But in addition, I think that's how you get people in, right? You have to be responsive and you have to show up, because you would be surprised at how many people just don't respond when you message them on Facebook Messenger, for example, because we don't use PadSplit. Our average term is 225 days over all of our houses, but we have one particular house that's 300 days. And I think that is because we focus highly on privacy in that house. So we have the house is kind of like a donut. So the kitchen is in the center, and then all the bedrooms are on the outside. What we do is we create almost like wings off of the center of the house, and we put extra doors for privacy. So every hall to go to bedrooms has a door. So it just creates a lot more quiet, peaceful, calm surroundings in that house. And they can just go in their room. They can go to the bathroom without having to talk to anybody. We do enjoy the community aspect of it since we live there. But at the same time, some people just want to stay in their room and not talk to anybody else. So you have to give them the option, right? Give them the option to have the community, or stay in their room and watch TV, as Heather is hinting at.
And I'm not going to say that like we don't end up with community in the homes. It's just, it's not something we focus on. It does happen naturally over time, but that's not what we're building for.
Yeah, got it. We don't actually we don't let people bring TVs into our common spaces, because we think that it will create conflict, like you mentioned. But we also don't watch TV ourselves, so we don't provide TVs in our rooms. So if they want to watch TV, they have to bring their own, which is probably something that might deter people from moving into our houses, but we're okay with that because it's one of our values. One of the last things I'll say is commute to work is huge for us. So anytime somebody comes to us and they want to move into our house, but their commute is going to be 30 to 45 minutes, we ask them to go look at other places before they come and look at ours, because we know it's probably going to be a waste of time. And then they're going to move out very quickly because they realize the commute's too far for them. So something to consider for future tenants in your houses.
Sweet. Thanks, Iris. Anybody else want to comment on this before we go to the next question? Or else
I'll speak briefly to the TVs thing. So I didn't originally offer TVs, but we now on all new houses, we include it. I've switched from 32 inch to 43 inches now, just because cost-wise it's minimal. One thing we do, they're already pre-installed at the gate in every room when the house goes live, but we offer it as an upcharge. So to the customer, we're able to have a more competitive rate. And during our secondary screening form, we ask them if they'd like a TV, like a 43-inch TV, for an additional $20 per week. If they say yes, great, we add it on PadSplit side. They know what they're getting. If they say no, we don't do anything. They got a free TV. At the end of the day, we probably get 30%, 40% of the house that actually pays for it. It's additional kind of income. But the opposite would be add TVs when they want them. And that's just kind of a cluster to try to get somebody to go hang them. We're actually working on some interesting thing for PadPulse to be able to actually make the TV not usable in the event that they didn't want to pay for it. So,
and
cool
Trav, have you ever had a situation where where they talk and they might see what, dude, you moved in and you don't have to pay for this TV and I'm paying for the TV, or is that still too new to know if that's a problem?
I mean, we've been doing it for 8 months, 9 months. I've never of that, and I've never had that issue.
Solid. Nice, man. So just something that I heard from Heather, I hope you don't mind me calling you out. Getting strategic with how you adjust your move-in fee versus your weekly rates, I think is really cool. And as you bring that up, the TV thing, it's if you increase the fee of the move-in fee or something like that, then and then that spans a certain amount of time. I don't know. I was just thinking off the top of my head where you could either go based off of increasing the weekly rate, which sounds like that's working for you, or for some people, if they just charge a move-in fee. I don't know, just something, food for thought. All right. Thanks, guys. Harris, do you, on your side, can you talk about, we're going to shift over to the next question. Can you share when people are deciding whether to bring their properties to onto co-living, right? Whether they're going to self-manage off platform or on platform, what are some things that they need to make sure they're considering when they're making that decision? Aside, obviously the easy thing is to say we don't have to pay PadSplit fees, so we're gonna go do this ourselves. What does somebody need to be prepared for that maybe you weren't prepared for, and you're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared for this? Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I will say again, Paul handles all the communication with our tenants and marketing for them, but it does take him about 10 hours to fill a vacancy. So that's communicating with people, making posts. So it's really, for me, it's a math problem. It's okay, well, how much do you get paid to do your job? If it's $100,000 a year, for example, you make $50 an hour. Okay, well, if it takes you 10 hours, that's $500. Is it worth that to spend your time marketing for a property, or is it worth you to just outsource that to PadSplit or to some other third party, right? For us specifically, there's no way I would ever be able to do this by myself, because I'm not necessarily a people person. I'm more of a hands-on mechanical person. So I think it's really important that you understand, if you're going to be self-marketing and self-managing, that you're going to talk to people all the time. They're going to message you consistently on all the platforms that you use to market. So Facebook Marketplace, Spare Room, Roomies, all of those websites, people are going to be reaching out to you, and you have to be responsive, and if you want a full house, and you have to make sure that you're prepared for that, right? So if you're not a people person, find a partner who would be my number one suggestion, because it's going to be a lot of your time is doing that.
Okay, thanks.
And also, I guess if PadSplit's not even in the market, then you have to consider that as well, right? Because PadSplit has core markets, and I'm sure the other people on the call can speak more to that, but Charleston, South Carolina is not necessarily a core market for PadSplit. So if you want to invest in a certain city, then you need to look and see how many units are in that market for PadSplit. And if they're not putting as much advertising money into that specific market, then it may not be the best choice for you to go on PadSplit. It might be better for you to self-market. So that's another consideration.
Yeah, thanks, Harris. Appreciate that. Trav, or does anybody want to hop in? I know, Travis, you switched from self-managing to PadSplit. So I kind of wanted to tag you in, if you can give your input too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I concur with Harris. You're going to talk to people a lot. The numbers that we found in the year that we did it. So I've always launched houses in chunks. I find it easier to kind of focus on acquisition, renovations, go live. So every time I've bought 3 houses at once, every single time. And so I launched 3 houses live in January of 24, and wasn't planning to use PadSplit. Said, hey, I kind of felt, because I came from a tech background, that we had an edge on this. By the time the year ended, to keep 30 rooms about 78 to 80% full, we processed 3,000 people. I had a team of 4 people working full time overseas to do it because I didn't have a partner to do it, and that wasn't going to be me. And ultimately, I had planned to buy 7 houses that year, but I wasn't going to do it until I felt I could get to like a 90% occupancy. I never achieved it. So then I said, all right, I'm doing this backwards. And I switched on to PadSplit, got rid of 3 out of the 4 people that I had, and focused on acquisitions and bought 12 houses in the second year. I'm running a higher occupancy rate, about 88% through PadSplit, with a lot less time, a lot less headache. And, ultimately, it's like 1-to-1. Almost every single person that books, at least moves in for some extent. There's many reasons why there's other kind of components, but I found that my focus is I wanted to grow my portfolio more so than I wanted to kind of like squeeze, the dollar. And I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I think the really good way to look at it is if you're looking to get into this, and it really depends on what your cash position is or what you intend on taking it to. If you intend on only being, 1, 2, 3 houses, you probably could just build your systems and like squeeze every dollar out of maintaining those 3 homes. But if your intent is to get to, 5, 10 plus, like you're just slowing yourself down by trying to do it that way in the beginning, right? You're much better off just not having to build out any of those systems, start on PadSplit and focus on growth. That's ultimately what I learned and switched to. A lot of people on like I'm pro PadSplit, if you couldn't tell, but a lot of people on kind of the naysayer side would say like, oh, like when you get to 10, 20 homes, like you're paying them so much in fees, which is an accurate statement. I would love for PadSplit to maybe think about it of like, all right, when you have 1 or 2 units, yeah, you're paying 8%. But once you hit 5, we only charge you 7%. And once you hit 8, we only charge you 6%. And some sort of thing that makes it, because, it's not good for them if everybody that has 20 houses says, you know what, we're going to go do it on our own because you cost too much. They could lose 30% of their portfolio overnight if everybody decided to do that. So it would make sense to incentivize your biggest people to, scale that down. And I would love to see that that's the way to go in the long run.
Cool.
I really like what you said, Travis, because I'm also focused on growing the portfolio and getting more houses. But one thing I wanted to say to everybody out there that's thinking about getting a co-living home, it's not one or the other. What you can do is start off on the PadSplit platform, but spend your time marketing for your own rooms and save that 10 days for yourself and decrease your costs significantly. And then it's such a heavy lift to learn how to do the rehab, to learn how to purchase correctly, to get all your operating procedures enforced, to learn how you're going to screen. And so have PadSplit do some of that as you learn. And if you find areas that you like and you're great at, you can pull away from PadSplit. But if there's things that you realize that you can't do, then you've got those training wheels all to be able to help you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I'll double tap what everybody else is saying. I think for me, like it's scalability for sure with the large hosts that I work with on the platform. I think my largest host now has just over 1,000 rooms. And I just can't imagine like how you would do everything and keep the focus on your acquisition and constructions like really streamlined. So for me, definitely scalability. I've also opened new markets with a big host of mine where PadSplit's still ramping up marketing. And I know posting on Facebook Marketplace, like Harris said, you better be a people person because sure, you're going to get tons of traction on there, but you need to walk those people through it. You need to be very hands-on. At a certain point, I was like, this is not for me. Like, this is crazy. I'm spending all day, every day talking to these people and, like have definitely other things to focus on to make these portfolios good and continue to scale them. So it's where you want to invest your time. And I think in a lot of ways, I think all of us as investors like enjoy the acquisition, enjoy making those properties set up right. And it's just a lot of busyness in the background that thankfully PadSplit I think does a great job at cohesively putting it all in one place and filling the rooms.
Yeah, Harris, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know Travis shared his occupancy, so I thought it might be helpful from a self-management perspective to share mine as well. So we're at 95.6% occupancy, which is great. And I think that I agree with everybody. I think that you can only handle so much as an individual, right? So you either have to make the decision on, if I'm going to scale, I either have to kind of almost build my own property management company or hire it out or use PadSplit. So right now we have 3 houses and 18 rooms. We can manage that ourselves. But over time, I personally think that once you get to about 30 to 40 rooms, you're probably going to be looking at moving more into a different system where you're not self-marketing. You go and either hire that out or you onboard with PadSplit and use their system. So I definitely think it's a scaling tool, 100%.
Nice. I want to say one other thing, Fernando, I think is important, just because not everyone is on PadSplit or has houses currently. There's the PadSplit portion, right? And really what they're good is a marketing engine, and they're a trust factor. They're a trust machine, actually, is what I would say is their most important skill, because people that go to them, they know what they're getting into. They've already been taught, they understand, like, I'm getting a room with single occupancy. Hopefully they know they're not supposed to have guests. And when I was doing it on my own, you don't have that trust factor. So half the people you got to teach that you talk to, they thought they were getting a whole house. And then of the house, half the people that talk to you, they don't realize, they don't trust you, right? And they want to do house tours and things like that. And so PadSplit's grown large enough that people trust them to just move in just like an Airbnb. But that's why they have to have the free transfer, because people can't see it ahead of time, which is ultimately a good thing. We ran a lot of self tours and things that we did on our end. I built an entire website and entire thing to appear, not necessarily appear, but be more trustworthy and be able to show that. And it definitely helped once we did that. But again, that's a whole nother component of things that most people aren't thinking about. And ultimately, with that said, that's just the marketing and getting people in. Then there's the actual management of the maintenance of the house and things like that. I actually work hand in hand with Dave Edwards from Co-Living Operations. He manages our houses because somebody's still got to oversee the house, right? And be the day-to-day manager. And if you're focused on scaling to 500 rooms like I am, you can't be stuck in the weeds all the time. And so there's always going to be a cost on top of those PadSplit, especially at scale. You could probably get away going on PadSplit and getting a few houses on your own, but at some point you need additional support.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just marketing those rooms on Facebook in a new market where PadSplit's still growing that brand awareness back in the day, the trust issue is huge. Like I think I spent most of my time in those new markets proving even what PadSplit was back then, and that we were a legitimate company, because obviously we've grown so much. And I think as an individual, that is something that's challenging. I think especially as a man posting on Facebook Marketplace, as a woman, you're just going to feel a little bit more nervous. So you kind of have that front with you, showing that, we have success in what we're doing, which is really great.
Yeah, we did have go ahead, Adam. Did you want to say something?
Well, just a couple quick things to echo. I mean, a similar experience for folks across the board. I think the one thing I'll talk about is I think taking my PadSplit hat off, early on, I forgot about my goal, and I spent 4 years managing this co-living quadplex. And I would post, I'd get 300 messages on Facebook, and I'd spend all this time, and then it would result in 3 showings. Then I'd go do those 3 showings, and then maybe one person would be interested. And I started to add up that time, and I realized what was the cost of that time. So that's point one, and it has been helpful for that switch for me. And then that focus of hey, my goal is to actually scale my real estate portfolio. Second piece, I just want to make a plug for PadSplit Anywhere. I do think as we've grown as a marketplace, yes, we're only in certain core markets, but we do allow you to use this product in any city across the United States. And I do think that with the integrations that we've developed over the last couple of years, we are listing on every third-party aggregator right now. So if you list within PadSplit, we're pushing that listing to Zillow, Apartments.com, Furnish Finders coming up next, all these other groups that you would pay to create individual logins to then go do, which is what I was doing, to then field all these questions. PadSplit has automated all that. And so if people are looking for a room, irrespective of what market you're in, I'm incredibly confident that PadSplit, with its marketing reach at the moment, will get eyes on your particular listing. And so, although we're not in Charleston, and it is coming up next, I actually think we have units in Charleston. I think they're doing really well. I can name off a couple other PadSplit Anywhere markets, but to me, it's still the product and the marketing that even those third listing aggregators and our SEO and our LMM tools from a from a search standpoint seem to do well across the nation.
Sweet. Makes sense. And I think now's a good time. I was going to go to the fifth question, which was like, in your opinion, when does it make sense to go self-management versus, PadSplit? And I think you guys kind of answered that, but does anybody want to speak to that, specifically, if you think you feel like there is a line, or because people are trying to make some of these decisions here? I think that's what we've been trying to do in this whole entire webinar. And I think all of you guys have done a really good job. This cost time benefit analysis in both sides. One question that did get asked is in regards to fees in self-management versus the PadSplit system. Can you talk to that, Harris and Trav, maybe, if you guys wanted to share? Harris first, just the difference in fees between the two, and then if you feel like there's a line between when you would push somebody one direction or the other.
I think the fees are going to be dependent on how much your time is worth. So, for example, I mean, I'm not paying management fees because I am the management, right? But what is your time worth? So what I was talking about earlier was just how much money do you make at your W-2 job, if you have a W-2 job, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people considering self-management might not be doing real estate investing full-time. They're trying to do this on the side. So how much money do you make at your job or doing, your side hustle, whatever that may be, and try to figure out how much money that is per hour, and then determine how much time you'd be spending trying to find tenants, right? So again, Paul spends about 10 hours trying to fill a vacancy. If you have 10 rooms, well, you multiply that by 10, right? So it depends on how good you are at keeping people in your houses and the retention as well. But you'll just have to do the math on that, right? How much is your time worth versus going the PadSplit route and paying the average? It sounded like earlier was around 14% for Travis. So just do that math.
Yeah, I think maybe their question was, I'm wondering if you don't pay a property manager, you don't pay anybody else. I mean, but do you pay any fees to market on Facebook or Zillow on your own? Adam was saying something like there might be listing fees somewhere. To create accounts, to market a little bit more. So it's really just a time thing. It's not like, and then if there is, property managers that do help individual co-living off PadSplit, then you're paying whatever fees they have. But any specific fees that you're paying?
We tried Furnish Finders at first, and we didn't get a lot of luck from that. So Furnish Finders is one of the ones you do have to pay an annual fee. You can also pay fees. There are certain websites that you pay to view messages, which is ridiculous. But you pay when somebody messages you. So it's a little sneaky in that way. We don't use any of the websites that do that. So our primary listing sites are Spare Room, I think Spare Room, Roomies, and Facebook Marketplace are our top three right now.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably plan for maybe $100 a month in other fees. Like Roomies technically cost money if you're running, a higher thing. There's a maximum number of rooms you can list. If you want to show up in, different searches, you can pay for advertising. So when I was doing it, we were spending money in those places. We were spending money on Facebook ads, but all in all, it's minimal. Like I said, it's maybe $100 a month, and that was with 30 rooms that we're running. The biggest thing is the time. I think most people look at it and say like, okay, PadSplit's taking this percentage, and let's just say it's $800 a month is what you're paying all in when you factor kind of all your different fees. For me, I pay someone like the co-living operations like $350 a month on top of that. So let's just say it's $1,000 for easy math. You go back to the number of hours spent to fill. If you're running 100 hours a month, you're paying yourself $10 an hour, right? And most people's time should be worth more than that. You definitely could get far more leverage if you just didn't do that and focused on adding more houses. So you kind of get economies of scale at some point. But there's also software you might have to run for CRM and various things. Like coming from an e-commerce background, one thing I found is most people, even myself included at the time, would look at a tool and be like, there's a free version. Why am I going to pay for the $10 per person version? Problem is you build your business on the stuff that's available free, and you don't build your business on the stuff that you'd get for $10, which ultimately you're kind of handicapping yourself. So my opinion is you're better off actually paying the $10 and building with what's possible versus being like, I'll get there someday. And then I have to rebuild everything I built over the last 6 months.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. And that's definitely a value versus cost conversation to be able to focus in on what am I getting for this versus what is it taking away from me. So I respect that. Totally understand. Anybody else want to comment on this last question?
Yes. One thing that I would say is, I think I have like a little over 100 rooms and I don't have a property manager and I manage it all from here. And I think that if I were not on the PadSplit platform, I would not be able to handle that much. But because of the communication tools and the follow-up tools on collections, I'm able to do it by myself. And so I think it's, the little support scaffolding there for me. So that way I don't have to get a manager at this stage in what I'm doing.
All right. I mean, you guys all answered it pretty well. Anything else, or else I'm gonna move over to the questions that people have had. We've got a few questions in here, so I figured I'd just shout these out. Yeah, I'm trying to read some questions here. Can you guys just list out where are all your houses? Adam, where are your houses at? So people had asked questions like where are you guys at in markets?
I'm all Atlanta. I'm someone who needs more data. It'd be really difficult for me to go scale in other markets. So I admit that up front.
Okay. Heather?
I'm all Atlanta. I have a goal for this coming up year to go into another market, but I haven't done it yet. I'm still researching. I have analysis paralysis.
Sure. Harris, I think you already kind of said, but you want to share?
Yeah, we're in Charleston. Specifically, all of our houses are in North Charleston, South Carolina.
Got it. Travis?
25 in rooms in the Tampa market and a little over 150 in the Dallas market, exploring 2 other markets. And to Heather's point, I've never been to 10 of my houses in my life. This is out of the 15. So you don't really need to be local to make it work.
There you go. Kairsten, the properties that you manage or that you own, where are they mostly?
Yeah, I work with owners who have properties nationwide. So Phoenix, Vegas, Texas in multiple markets, Florida, multiple markets, Atlanta, Richmond. So really like a diverse area that investors invest in, and have been lucky to kind of see how each of those markets play out and the good and bad of each one of those.
Thank you guys. And just on that note, so I'm gonna have one of my team members drop in the comments just the contact info for everybody here. And then if you haven't signed up to be a host with PadSplit yet, I'll drop a link as well. One of the cool things about signing up with PadSplit right now is just to see the data. And so I think, so if you sign up, there's like literally you can't access the behind the scenes data. I don't think without creating an account. Is that right, Adam? Or is there another way for them to access the data? Or they have to first create an account and then look at like host tools?
Create account, host tools, market insights. Looks through zip code and occupancy level, time to fill, pricing for both private and shared baths. It really is it's a good tool, but it's getting better and better as we obviously collect more and more information.
Okay, let me see. Somebody asked size of rooms that churn more. Even though PadSplit has a minimum, do you guys have a recommendation as to like, hey, you should not be?
I'll say it. Size matters. Whenever we first started off and we needed to make our numbers work, like I put 4 8x10 bedrooms in a house upstairs, and I hate them. They churn all the time. I can only charge $125, $135 a week for them. I get tenants who are very on the edge. They're up a long flight of stairs. Anyway, our smaller rooms tend to do worse and churn faster, and our bigger rooms people keep longer. It's that simple.
I see everybody's head shaking up and down. So we'll just say that everybody agrees there. Man, one of my rooms in my properties too, I did that. I forced a 9th bedroom in one of them, and it has the most churn. And now I'm thinking I'm putting like a desk. I'll probably put a TV in there. Like I have to somehow make that more appealing to them. So I'm just from hearing you guys talk today, I'm going to go do that.
One of the things that we've considered is our rooms that we find are hard to rent. We give them the best parking spot to try to incentivize them to live there.
The creativity. I like it. All right. So go ahead and drop, if you guys got questions now, go ahead and drop them. We did share, let me see if this works. Can you guys see the contact info at all for everybody's contact info?
Yeah, he dropped it in the Q&A.
Yeah, he dropped it in the Q&A. All right, so everybody can see the Q&A. I don't know if everybody can see it. Type answer. I don't know if people can see that. Jello, do we have a comment section? If it's in the Q&A, I don't know.
I'm not sure that anybody sees questions from other people.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I think so too. Kairsten, I'm grateful that you guys are already answering a lot of these questions. How much of an issue is is parking? How much of an issue or barrier is parking? Who wants to answer that one?
Depends on your location. Shoot for at least 60%. 60% parking spots compared to your rooms, assuming that there's local close by transit. If there's no local transit, I typically want to have a parking spot for every car, or at least 80-90%, because obviously you have turnover. Not everyone's there. Not everyone's full.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I still follow like within half a mile to a bus stop, so walking distance for sure. And more people are commuting now than they did 5 years ago to PadSplits, or we've just expanded out further away from the center city in a lot of ways. So I think anytime you can park behind the house, like that's a slam dunk for sure. Anytime you're maybe like at a corner lot where you can fit a significant amount in the driveway, and then a couple people can park on the street if that looks like it's normal in your neighborhood. As long as you're not limiting it where people end up parking in the grass, that's the major thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're pretty much coming close to time. I know we went a little bit over, so thanks everybody for sticking on. Any last words that you guys want to give to everybody? And then just for some reason, we can't use the chat. This is our first time running this, so I may have not turned on chat, and we will share everybody's contact info here with everyone. So, we'll do that later on. But for right now, Adam, Heather, Trav, Kairsten, Harris, you guys have any last goodbye words?
Maybe the quick plug is just like get involved in that PadSplit community. There are like Heather just spoke a lot, Travis spoke a lot, Harris spoke a lot. Like we all have this, we're all learning together and sharing this information. And so like be a part of this co-living community, whether that's via Facebook. Please create a host account so you can look at some of this additional data. But ultimately, like I think this is the community that really shares this information to get more and more successful hosts on the marketplace, and co-living as an asset in general. So just that's my plug, is to like talk to people on this call. Sweet.
Any last words, Heather, Kairsten, Trav, before we hop off?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of asking about room size. So I want to call out, the minimum legal square foot per room is 70 square feet. That's 7 by 10, with the minimum width being 7 feet. So 7 by 10 is literally the smallest you can get. If you ever want to allow a second person, legally you need a 50 square feet for this second person. So that's 120 square feet. I have rooms where a lot of houses, it makes sense to split a living room. So they'll actually only be 7 feet wide. However, they're like 16 feet long, right? And so, that it's big, but not, still feels small. I haven't had near as much trouble with one of those because it's still like total square footage where they can put stuff. But it definitely still feels small. But if the option was have a 14 by 14 room or have two 7 by 14s, I'm going to go the 7 by 14s. Total square foot still on the better side. Curious what Heather thinks about that statement though.
Yeah, Heather?
I think it's fine. I've been focused a lot more on my favorite build right now is a 6-5. So 4 rooms with private suites and then 2 rooms share 1 bathroom. And that's like my favorite thing. And I'm making the most money off of it. And so that's what I'm focused on. I live in the city of Atlanta. It's really hard to get really big rooms, and I focus downtown. And so I'm not buying any houses that are more than 2,000 square feet. So all of my rooms, we would call them compact. But I will not do 8 by 10 rooms anymore.
My favorite build is a 14.6 right now.
Specialties. So yeah,
with two kitchens,
and makes life challenging for financing. So thanks. But
keep you on your toes, brother.
We're getting through it. He's making me get my money's worth. All right. Anything else, Kairsten, Harris, from you guys, or anything before we hop off? This was a solid first run. If you get nothing else, then this is it. Thank you, everybody. Panelists, really quick, can you guys just like stay on? I'm going to take a photo and post it. So everybody just give me like, yeah, like just one of those.
Please.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hopping on. This is the first one to many webinar series, The Truth About PadSplit, all throughout. I think we'll send out emails what the next ones are coming through. But we are going to have a panel of people that have only over 100 rooms, which actually here you've got people that already have over 100 rooms, which is pretty sweet. So we're going to have a panel exclusively for that. We're going to have a panel for those that have the highest maintained occupancy, right? So how are they maintaining the most tenure? So how are they operating their properties? So we start diving down deeper into being successful with PadSplit. And so Harris, I want to thank you as well for being on and sharing your journey. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Bye, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you
everyone.
guys for joining. Bye.
Bye.